Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Sports Show right here on Smash FM here on a lockdown Sunday here in Melbourne. And of course, let's continue our sporting theme in particular and let's go across to Queensland in particular. And of course, we head down to the Darling Downs, my favourite part of Queensland. Of course, we have a chat to the Darling Downs Athletics Club. And of course, we've got a very special guest on the show because is a national, of course, competitor in two parts of athletics, that is shot put and discus. Of course, his name is Mason. He joins us right now. Thanks, Mason, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. Well, been a pretty unusual year, like everywhere else around the world, and of course here in this country. But what have you been doing to sort of, I guess, get yourself ready for other state or nationals, hopefully coming up soon?
Pretty much the same as everyone else. I suppose there's two categories of people that have been in lockdown. There's the people who are using it as time away, time to step back and take a break from everything. And then there's people like myself we didn't really stop. We just kept hammering away, trying to fix like tiny little things that have been problems that haven't had time to correct or anything. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. And just not really having a specific competition to work to, but just own small training goals.
Now, you mentioned about, I guess, your training side of things. Has this sort of been a bit of a blessing in disguise with the fact that there hasn't been any real main competitions or events that's come up, and now you've had your chance to sort of improve on those, and knowing that obviously with state and nationals, I'm sure it's been pushed back because of what's been going on down here in Melbourne, to sort of hone down on those skills?
Oh, absolutely. There's with every athlete really, there's always a couple of little things that are always off, and so yeah, we've had a much longer off season than expected, and so we've been able to try and grind those out of the system, and yeah, absolutely been a blessing. It's been incredible to try and get that out, and strength has been a massive part of why I wasn't where I needed to be, because I've always been the skinniest kid to compete. So yeah, I've finally been able to get in the gym, get bigger, get stronger, get faster. It was, yeah, absolutely a good thing.
Now, obviously, you mentioned about strength just a moment ago. Obviously, the two disciplines in athletics, especially on the field side of things, is probably, of course, mainly used for strength, really. Shot put,
yeah.
use. I guess for you in particular, why did you choose those two? And I guess what have you learned in regards to, I guess, how has that been going in regards to like the strength wise now that you've had a chance to hone down on those things?
How did I get into them? It was year 2, I think. When I was a kid, I just used to stay indoors. I used to do lots of homework, play video games. You imagine the nerdiest person you can think of. That's me right there. And Dad was like, oh, we need to get this kid out of the house. And so my local club, Westbrook Athletics, had their like open day, come and trial events. And so I went down, had a go, had fun, enjoyed the environment. And I wasn't like throwing specific then. I was just enjoying athletics, and then kept going ever since. Wasn't until about year 7 that I realised that I could actually throw something further than most people could, and then I got a proper coach, and we just kept going from there. And I had more of a passion of those two rather than everything else. Like I just like I'm fast and I can jump high and all that sort of stuff, but I never really had that passion for that one. And with with throwing events, strength is definitely a huge part of it, and like especially with shot put. And so when I was younger, throwing lighter weights, I could get away with being speedy and technical. And so I'm still speedy and technical, but I needed to get that strength going. And so since the strength's come along, distance has improved greatly. So I'm very, very happy with where it is at the moment.
Now, of course, when most people think of athletics, and especially obviously, especially most of them think about running, of course, on the track. But I guess when they think about shot put and discus, obviously, all you got to do is really throw the object.
Mm.
Obviously, people think that's probably the most easiest part of the whole athletics, but I'm assuming that it's not.
I, yeah, I would go the opposite. I think they're probably like I've never tried professional like triple jump. I've never done long distance running, and I like kudos to the people who do long distance running. I can't run 200 meters without needing an asthma puffer. So it like they're all insane in their own aspects, but from a biased throwing point of view, you need it's insanely technical. So strength can only get you so far, and it's all with body movement and everything. So like I yeah, I think they're all equally hard. So people look at hammer throw and go, oh my god, how do you do that? But I'd say that hammer throw is equally as difficult as shot put to be the best of the best. So I think a lot of people have their fair right in saying that it's all strength because it does look like it, but no, it's definitely technical.
Obviously, most people, when they think, especially with the training wise, obviously, as I mentioned, obviously most of it's throwing, but is it more? Is it more of? Is it harder than in regards to training wise than what people are thinking when people think about athletics and especially the running part and like continuously running and trying to hone down that?
Probably like with sports like football and that, like most of it is playing football, and then you get in the gym to work specifics of like certain muscle movements, certain muscle growth. Um, but with athletics, like you're working on one specific thing. So with most sports, yeah, you run in the sport, but you throw, you catch, you jump, all that sort of stuff. But with these kind of sports, you are working specifically on one movement, and so with throwing, you are working on throwing, and so you have to get all the muscles in the right places. You have to make them work the right way. It's very nitpicky in a way. It's just it's all fine tuning. You have to get the very small things going to make big things happen.
Uh, Prior to COVID hitting here, did you do any competitions at the start of this 2020 year?
Yeah, we did. There was a few. We call them shield meets, which is just small competitions where you get together with a bunch of throwers around Queensland. You just have a bit of fun. And they did their Queensland state championships as well, which also went all right. Building up to nationals, and then everything shut down as expected. Like I didn't have my hopes up or anything. I had a gut feeling that it was gonna be pulled off, but it is what it is.
Uh, is there any competition that you're working on now, considering that Queensland is obviously getting much better than it is down here? But any competitions coming up now that everything is some sort of going back to some normality?
Queensland Athletics announced a couple of weeks back that the Queensland All Schools Championships is going ahead. So most school carnivals were cancelled and most regional carnivals were cancelled, but the state is going ahead. Queensland Athletics wanted to get on top of it, and so there's a bunch of those little shield meets again going on, and then we've got the state championships coming up, and so for this year that's the big goal because there's nothing like big after it. All schools was cancelled, so we've got the Queensland School Championships, and that's what we're working towards at the moment.
Now, let's talk a bit about your athletics journey now. Obviously, you just mentioned how you got involved in it, and especially getting involved in the field events. Do you have any short and long-term goals in the sport of athletics now that you've had a chance to sort of reset and sort of figure out now what you want to do?
Towards the end of last year, my passion for it sort of dropped off. And no fault of athletics, no fault of mine. It was just something that happened. And so I'm very grateful that COVID cut everything because that gave me a chance to reevaluate, and I sort of found self-motivation in that. And so now for the future, I think I'm going to stay and I'm going to keep doing it and I'm going to do what I love. Now, the ultimate goal for every athlete is the Olympic Games. Everyone wants to do it. Like if you are an athlete, that's where you want to be. And so yeah, absolutely. I'd love to go to 3 of them, but I think going to one of them would be phenomenal. It'd be surreal. Shorter term, next year, middle of next year, it's in August, is the World Under-20 Championships, and they're held in Kenya. And so I'm hoping to qualify for them. Again, that would be insane. So I think, yeah, short term is that. Long term is the more basic, go to the Olympic Games, go to Commonwealth Games, do what every athlete dreams of. And so from now until then, I'll be giving it 150% to get there.
There will be some highlights about your athlete's journey so far, Mason.
Oh, highlights. Probably my most proud moment was middle of last year was the Oceania Championships, and that was my first time representing Australia. And so they were in Townsville, so it was quite local. It was easy to get there. So it was about a 4-hour flight to get there. And so at the championships, I came second in shot put, which I thought was insane. And I went home and I was on this all-time peak high. And yeah, I just felt like nothing could tackle me down. And then a couple of days later, we had discus, and I ended up winning that, and I broke the championship record as well. And I was just like mind blown. I was on top of the world. It felt insane, and I can't even describe the feeling, but yeah, it was ridiculous. And so I think winning a gold medal for Australia and breaking that record was definitely my most proud moment.
Were you aware of the championship record?
I knew what it was, but I didn't think that I was going to break it. Or if I did break it, I didn't think that I'd hold it, because I would have thought someone else would better it in the same competition. So yeah, to walk away with that and for it to still stand is something that blows my mind every day.
And what is that currently now?
57.84.
Wow.
So, which is, yeah, it was, for me at least, like for the top dogs of the sport, it's not much. But when I did it, I was sort of taken aback by it. It was insane.
What was the record you end up beating?
I think the record was 52 before. So I hit it by a big margin, and two of the other blokes in the competition also threw over it. But I ended up winning, so it counts as the furthest throw. And it was the same in shot. I threw over the old record in shot, but because I came second, I didn't keep it. So, yeah, no, unbelievable stuff.
Now, you just mentioned about that. Obviously, you broke the record in 2 different events, even though obviously one currently stands because you finished first in it. But you mentioned that obviously 2 competitors, including yourself, beat it in shot put, and then obviously the other, and then 3 others beat it in discus. No way around. But I guess obviously we mentioned about yourself and your reaction to it, but were the other competitors that also beat it, I guess, were they all stunned the way how you?
I don't know if they knew that they'd broken the record, but yeah, it was just a surreal experience. Like, we were throwing, and the men's open shot put was next to us, so we had Olympians throwing next to us, and it was just a crazy experience. It's just one in a lifetime thing. It felt like a dream. So.
Now, and I guess especially do it in Townsville, where obviously the weather conditions can be mixed at times, but I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But obviously doing it, I'm assuming would have been like in the heat up there. I guess to do it up there, and especially with the conditions there, that would have been an amazing experience in itself.
Oh yeah, it was in the middle of winter. but I think in our comp, it would have been like 31 degrees. It was so smack bang in the middle of July, and it was boiling hot. It was just, it felt like we were in the Northern Hemisphere. It was insane. But yeah, and in Townsville is where the Australian discus record, the open discus record, was thrown. So I knew that going into the comp, and I was like, holy crap, this is where it was. And so I think that gave me a little bit of motivation to throw further, knowing that someone has thrown that far in this circle, that surely I can produce something big.
Now, I guess, what does the sport of athletics mean to you now, especially representing the Darling Downs Athletics?
The sport itself is, what does it mean to me? It just feels like home. I know it's like, that's really cliche. It's a bit cheesy, but it does. Like, you can have like a bad day at school, a bad day at work, or just like an off day on the weekend, and you can go outside and just start throwing, and it feels like an escape. And no matter what mood you're in, if you start, or at least for me, if I start doing it, I just clears my head. I feel great. And it's the same with going to the gym. It's something that feels like an escape. If anything, it just feels welcoming. And with the Darling Downs Athletics Club, it's the same kind of feeling, and it's even better potentially with the fact that other athletes feel like that, and that you're like surrounded with them. And so knowing that if I've had a bad day and someone else has had a bad day, we can even just talk about athletics, and we just start to feel better. And I think it's just that the happiness and the escape of it all is just something that it's just priceless. Can't get it anywhere else.
Now, what will be your advice to our listeners out there that should get involved in athletics, especially down there at Darling Downs?
I reckon just do it. Like, there's nothing else that I can say. Like, I was in year 2, I was the nerdiest kid there was. I used to skip out on PE in class. Like, I'd just, miss, do I have to? And I'd go inside and I'd do homework. But as soon as my parents got me out there, like, there's nothing to lose. You're not even losing time. Like, you are going to enjoy yourself. It's just something that's fun. And I say, just go for it. There's no harm in trying it. So absolutely. All my advice is go and have fun. Go do it.
Now let's finish up with a couple of harder questions as well, which is any embarrassing moments on the field?
So last year, in trying to qualify for the Oceania Championships, it was in the qualifying ended in April at the National Championships. So I'd had a big week of competing. So I'd competed in the under-20s, which is up an age group. So I was only 16 and I was throwing in the under-20s. I'd won the silver medal in discus in the under-20s and the bronze medal in shot put in the under-20s. And I was just like, oh my God, okay. So I was emotionally drained. Like, I was just out of it. But I knew that with the under-18s, that's where I wanted to be. That's how I qualify. I had to give in 100%. So in discus, I was coming second by 1 centimeter, and in the final round, whipped it out. Huge throw, which ended up beating the qualifier, and I got the auto qualifier for discus. I ended up winning, and I was just like, so I was on this all-time life high. Like, I just felt like nothing could drag me down. And then we went to shot put, and I was trying to do the same thing, and I was trying to qualify, and I was coming third, I think it was. I was coming third by quite a big margin, and it was also my last throw, and I was like, right, I just got to produce something big here. And so I went in, and I was roaring. I was like, oh, come on, and I just screamed it, like absolutely thumped it, and it's gone 18 meters, 16 PB, won the competition. Usually in throwing events, like, you see these big brawling men like scream, and they're like, yeah, go. I've thrown it and had a voice crack. And so everybody in the stadium, like 200 odd people, and I've just thrown them, like, yeah. and like it was just this huge voice crack, and oh my god, it was funny, I'll admit. And I walked out, and I'm like, oh, I've won, but like, have I won? Like, I've won the medal, but have I won like emotionally? And so, yeah, no, it was mad, but I think that like I don't get embarrassed often, but that was absolutely one of them. So, but I've still got the gold medal, and that's what counts. So, but yeah, that voice crack I think will haunt me forever.
Well, at least you won it. So I guess
Exactly.
now, of course, you would have been alongside some amazing squad members there. Who's the comedians of them?
Oh, the comedians in the sport. Out of the throwers, Matt Denny, a classic, piss funny guy. Like even just looking at his Instagram post, you can tell that he was born and bred with humor. Some of the guys my age are pretty funny. I think all of them. I think we just share this like sense of humor. I don't know what it is. It's just something about throwing events that like you just have the same sense of humor. But yeah, there's this big under 20 thrower from South Australia. His name's Jesse. He's pretty funny. I like to consider myself funny, but that's a bit cocky to say. I try and be funny, but it doesn't always work. So that's about it. Like, there's no like specifics. I think that all of them are funny in their own respective way. Some of them are funny without knowing it. Like they'll just say something and the way they say it is funny. And but yeah, no, a lot of the blokes are funny. So.
Two final ones before I let you go. Firstly, do you have a pre-competition superstition or ritual?
To be like a crescendo. So we start with light-hearted music. We usually listen to like 21 Pilots, something relaxing like Adele, Lady Gaga, just dumb stuff. And then we build it up, and then we just get to the angry right before I compete. And so the second before I compete, I listen to a specific song, and to do with superstition. When you wish on a candle, like on a birthday cake, and you don't tell anyone what the wish is, and that's because it won't come true. I do treat the music like that. So the final song that I listen to before comp, haven't told a soul, because just in case, because like if I say it, I feel like it's not going to work anymore. So it's one of those things. But I do have one. So I'm not a superstitious man, but it's just that one thing.
Yeah.
I like to keep it to myself.
Well, I'm not gonna let you tell us what that song is. So, I might.
It's good. I'll say that it's very, very good.
Okay. And one last one before I let you go. I guess mentioned about embarrassing moments. Is there any silly or funny moments that you've seen on the field or track that doesn't involve you competing in it?
That I can think of. No, not off the top of my head. I think most of the funny stuff comes from the throwers. But like conversations with other athletes are funny. I suppose when you sit in the crowd and most of the interviews with like AA officials and people who have just competed, and they're like, they've run like the 800 or something, and they're like, and they're trying to get words out and they can't. And I think that's a little bit entertaining, but apart from that, I can't think of anything.
That's fair enough. Well, Mason, thank you so much for getting up your time to join us on the Sunday afternoon. And obviously, we want to wish you and all the best for obviously your next competition coming up, which is the Queensland All Schools. And obviously going into state and nationals coming up in 2021. Let's hope it all goes well for you, and hopefully we'll get to see you on the national stage again next year.
Yes, thank you very much.
No worries. And that's Mason there, joins from the Darling Downs Athletics Club. And of course, if you're in Queensland and of course you want to get down and get involved in athletes, make sure to check out the Darling Downs Athletics. Of course, we'll put all the details on how you can go about it on our social media. There's more on the Smash Sports Show right after this. Don't go away here on Lockdown Sunday.